They are accusing Democrats of saying we spend too much. For anyone that wants to entertain that thought, I ask you to think about the last time a person has said in this country that the government does too much for them, that their Social Security check was too high, that teachers are paid too much. When was the last time anyone has heard or seen that?
Senator John Kennedy and Congressman Chip Roy took on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez after one of her fiery speeches on the House floor. Watch as they dismantle her arguments and expose the truth behind her socialist agenda.
Another quote. President Biden already lowered the deficit by $1.7 trillion. They say his budget would cut the deficit by another $3 trillion by eliminating wasteful spending on big oil and pharma, we're told. But it is in fact our Democratic colleagues who prefer to maintain their massive subsidies for the elites and the wealthy in their so-called Inflation Reduction Act just last year. My friend from New York, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, said, quote, I ask you, think about the last time a person has said in this country that the government does too much for them. When was the last time anyone has heard or seen that? I'll say it. I'll say it right here. I don't want the government doing most of the things that the government is doing to interfere with the ability of the American people to carry out their lives. Federal, state, and local. When was the last time you had a bureaucrat show up and you said, oh joy, thank you, I'm really glad there's a bureaucrat here? When was the last time you were thankful for $32 trillion in debt, $100,000 almost for every man, woman, and child in America? Anybody thankful for $32 trillion in debt? Anybody? Anybody thankful for a border that's wide open being exploited by cartels while fentanyl comes in and kills our children? Everybody thankful for that Department of Homeland Security that doesn't actually secure the homeland? Everybody thankful for an FBI that went after Scott Smith and labeled him a domestic terrorist for daring to defend his daughter in a school board meeting because she was assaulted in a bathroom? Anybody thankful for the IRS knocking on your door, auditing the poor and the minorities 3 to 5 times more? People thankful for that? Are you thankful for the EPA or the Department of Interior that sent a man to prison because he had some ponds on his ranch in Montana? We have a government that is weaponized against the American people and is undermining our liberties, and they want more of it. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle want more government. They want more taxes. They want more spending. They want more bureaucrats knocking on your door.
Senator from Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would ask unanimous consent to use a proper to during my remarks.
Without objection.
Mr. President, today I would like to talk about a distasteful subject to me. I get angry whenever I think about it. Fentanyl dealers. I hope there's a special place in hell for them. Fentanyl dealers. Today is National Fentanyl Awareness Day. Last year, fentanyl, or actually in 2021, fentanyl killed 71,000 Americans. If you break down these sterile statistics, you'll see that somebody in our country dies from fentanyl poisoning every 7 seconds. There ought to be a special place in hell for fentanyl dealers. And these aren't just sterile statistics, Mr. President. These are real people. And they have real families whose lives are torn apart. A lot of these deaths occur among young people. Fentanyl is now the leading cause of death for Americans who are 18 to 49. From 2020 to 2021, fentanyl deaths in our country increased by 24%. It was even more among young people. What you allow is what will continue. And today, this body, the United States Congress, allows fentanyl dealers to carry on their person, if they would like to, enough fentanyl to kill 20,000 Americans before they face a mandatory 5-year minimum sentence if they're caught. Until these fentanyl dealers have to deal themselves with real consequences, I think the carnage is going to continue. I have a bill. It's called the Fairness in Fentanyl Sentencing Act of 2023. And it will change what I just talked about drastically. It will reduce the amount of fentanyl that a fentanyl dealer has to possess before facing the mandatory minimum 5 years of prison. Now, Mr. President, I know you know this, but when you're dealing with fentanyl, the amounts really matter. Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin. Not 5, not 15, 50 times more potent. It takes only 2 milligrams to kill you. Here's a pencil. Here's the point of a pencil. The amount of fentanyl you can put on the point of a pencil will kill you. Let me say that again. The amount of fentanyl that you can put on the point of a pencil will kill you. Today, fentanyl dealers can carry up to 40 grams of fentanyl before they face the mandatory minimum 5 years of prison. And with me today, Mr. President, is...
Welcome back to A Listen Reacts. Before we dive into today's reaction, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video. Every time you do, you help push back against the establishment's narrative and strengthen the voice of patriotic Americans who are tired of being ignored. We're here to cut through the noise, expose the hypocrisy, and speak truth to power. Now, let's get into this explosive moment. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez once again took the House floor to deliver one of her trademark speeches. As usual, she tried to paint herself as the champion of the working class, blaming Republicans for everything under the sun. But here's the truth. Her speeches are filled with the same tired talking points, big government solutions, victimhood narratives, and attacks on anyone who dares to question her radical agenda. She talks about compassion and justice, but behind that rhetoric is a push for socialism that would weaken America and strip away the freedoms that make this country great. And here's where it got good. Senator John Kennedy and Congressman Chip Roy weren't having any of it. Kennedy, in his classic style, cut through the nonsense with sharp wit and plain-spoken truth. He reminded everyone that AOC's lofty promises are nothing more than dangerous fantasy, paid for by hardworking Americans who are already crushed under inflation and taxes. Kennedy made it clear, you can't buy prosperity with government handouts, and you can't legislate away reality. Then Chip Roy stepped in and delivered a knockout blow. He pointed out how Democrats like AOC talk endlessly about compassion, yet their policies on immigration, spending, and energy only hurt the very people they claim to fight for. He made the case that real compassion is securing the border, protecting jobs, and making sure families can afford to live without being taxed into oblivion. Roy stood firm, saying what millions of us already know, that AOC's agenda is not about lifting people up, but about consolidating government control. This was a moment where truth clashed with propaganda, and the truth came out on top. Kennedy and Roy exposed just how shallow AOC's rhetoric really is. While she plays to Twitter mobs and socialist activists, real leaders are standing up for American workers, families, and freedoms. What do you think? Do you believe AOC's speeches are more about sound bites than solutions? Because I sure do. And it's refreshing to see leaders like Kennedy and Roy not just sit back and let her rewrite reality. They fought back, and they did it with facts, courage, and conviction. That's why this moment matters. The American people are starving for leadership that tells the truth, not speeches filled with theatrics and empty promises. Kennedy and Roy showed that the fight isn't over, and that patriots will not let radical socialism go unchallenged. If you agree with me, make sure